Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trudo Tower Grow 22 Festival webinar. Can everybody hear me? Could someone please reply in the chat that the sound is good and that you can hear me? I got no reaction yet. Oh yeah, thank you very much for your reaction. Yes, then everything is working fine. Well, thank you everybody and welcome. Thank you for your time being here with us. And Martijn Verberne, thank you very much for
You're
being
welcome.
here with us as well. We are going to introduce ourselves a little bit. My name is Jano van Velen. I'm a landscaping advisor and a European tree technician working for Kekela BVB. And I got involved in the Trudo Tower like 4 years ago and developing mainly the underground growing place for the trees and for the shrubs. And Martijn Verberne is here today with us.
Yes.
He's the project leader and the main um, uh, um, man for the Trudo Tower. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Martijn van Berne and I'm the project manager at Dupré Groenprojecten. At Dupré, I'm responsible for the calculation, work preparation and supervision of special products such as the Trudo Tower. And as you all know, said, we started the first preparations of the project in 2018 and started in December 2020, and it was already finished in September 2021.
Yeah, a little bit later in a couple of slides, we will get back to some extra information of the
Yeah.
Trudo Tower. Now I'm going to share my screen again, and well, this is what we're talking about. This is the tower. It's the first vertical forest in the northern in Europe, and the first for the Netherlands, of course, as well. And there are some more things to say about this project. I just first wanted to address our partners in this case. Of course, Dupré, Martijn Verberne. He's the project leader, and he brought us all together because he picked the different companies and people to make this all work. Stefano Boeri, architect, it's the designer, the architect of the Trudo Tower. It's not his first tower that he designed. The first one was in Milano. It was the Bosco Verticale. It was 8 years earlier. It was built 8 years earlier um, than the Trudo Tower. Then we have HB Watertechniek. That's the irrigation system, the supplier of the irrigation system. Stam de Koning is the real estate developer and the builder of the tower. I always say the concrete part. Van den Berg, it's the tree nursery that was supplying the trees. Very impressive in airports. Martijn will tell a bit more about it later. And of course, BVB Landscaping. It's the Dutch part of the Kekela BVB group. We are the landscaping department of Kekela BVB in the Netherlands, a bit in Belgium. So these are the partners, and we made it work together. How did you came up, Martijn, with this group of people?
Yes, it was not quite a search. For us as company, it's important to find good partners because without good suppliers, we won't have a project. And that's why we looked for the partners for the most important disciplines, such you said. And we have a long-term relationship with BVB, also with the other suppliers. So it was for us easy choice
Easy pick.
easy peasy to contact you. So
Well, thank you for that. Next slide is not working. Yeah. it's your slide. Could you please tell us a bit more about the tower?
Yes, below we have a few unique points that we would like to share with you. The full tower is 17 levels, 125 apartments, and very special is that it's social rental housing. So it's not the normal houses you buy. It's really for the social renting for people with a lower income. A total of 135 trees, 1,600 shrubs, and 6,800 perennials have been planted on the tower. And the planters have a total surface of 820 square meters. Trees were preparated for 2 years at the Van Berg nursery, and we used the airpot method. You see in the right above an example of the airpot. And the airpot method gave us an opportunity to plant the trees all year around. So in the winter, in the spring, in the summer, it was all possible. Yeah, we wanted to give the residents of the tower a 4-season image. So every season there is something to experience in terms of color. We have two main colors. That's white silver in the spring and red in autumn. Jano, your slide. Yes, thank you. Each planter we range separately, so we have a total of 400 planters in the tower. And to monitor every planter, we have a total of 120 sensors that have been placed on the tower to monitor constantly the irrigation and the water system. Yes, all trees, shrubs, and perennials are good for a total of 50,000 kilos of CO2 absorption and 13,750 kilos of oxygen. So that's a little bit the main goals of the Trudo Tower.
Yeah, it was impossible to get this benefits. These are the CO2 and oxygen CO2 and oxygen benefits. But if you can see it, eco system services, then it's almost impossible to get in the area where the tower is built this same amount of benefits because there's so many trees and so many green and a little in this little area, and there is no space at all in the surroundings to get this amount of benefits from the green. Well, I take over a little bit and then we go back to Martijn. I forgot to tell you that we are going to talk about for 30 minutes about the tower, and then we have like 15 minutes for questions. So if you have any questions, then you can just ask them by in the questions area. I see that there is already one question. We are going to address them at the end of the webinar. And if you want to tell us something in the chat, then you can just have an extra, or you can also ask a question through the chat, or just tell us like Brad just did. Hello, Martijn and Jana. Thank you. Hi, Brad. Welcome joining us. Well, at first, why I came in was to design the planter and to work together for the underground growing place. And you can see an image right now of the fundamentals that we look at. Because if you plant a tree on a tower, or if you plant a tree in a forest or in a city, it doesn't matter where you plant the tree. You need to make sure there is water, air, space, and nutrition. Well, nutrition you can pretty easily bring in the tower by irrigation. Space is a very big issue. I'll come back to it a little bit later. Air, it could be an issue, but it needs to be designed right. Water could be an issue, it needs to be designed right. So water and air was mainly a cooperation between irrigation and the substrate that we used. Space was something we didn't have, we don't have, so we could only make it better by to make the substrate very very spacious for the roots. And nutrition, we came up with an idea to make because we didn't want chemical nutritions, we want organic nutrition. So we came up with an fertilizer that was liquid and organic. So no chemical fertilization, only liquid organic fertilization. Well, this is what we're talking about space. You can see that this is the worst. I think we only have 4 planters like this. Most of the planters the trees have more space. But like, how was the average space, Martijn, of the planter?
The planters for the trees were approximately 4 or 5 cubic meters in
Yeah, so
total.
yeah, that means that if you design a substrate, it needs to be have a lot of space between it, because you mainly design a substrate with rocky material and nutrition material. And if there's too much rocky material in it, then there is too little space to grow roots. And if there is too much rocky material, then there is also too little space to have nutrition material. So the balance between rocky and nutrition material needs to be right. And we designed a substrate that is having a lot of pores in it, and those pores will be able, the roots will be able to grow in the pores. And if you have more pore volume, then you have more space for the roots. That means if you have 4 cubic meters of growing area, the rocky material needs to be as little as possible. But another question from Martijn was, we need to have a material that is is heavy or heavy enough that the wind won't rip out the trees, or that wind is, because wind is a big problem in a tower like this, that it's stable situation and safe situation. So the material that we used was lava rock, and then the more basalty lava rock, that means that it's a little bit more heavy than normal rock, and it's very it's very gaps in each other. So it means that it's the material is very stable, and will help the trees from not falling down or not breaking out. The design of the planter was at first a little bit different than you see here, but mainly the same. It's insulated planter, so the temperature outside is insulated from the temperature inside a little bit. And then the lower part you can see in the left picture is only rocky material, so no nutrition material at all. And it's also a groundwater table. So the water that is irrigated in the planter, if there is too much water irrigated, then there's a build of groundwater. It looks like ground because it's not groundwater, but the 10 centimeters on the bottom of the planter, is always a bit of water available. So of course, the first year the tree won't grow there with its roots, but after 2 or 3 years, the roots will be there and will be having the water available if there is a dry time, or there's a little too less water in the planter. On the left side, you can also see that the planter, that the root ball is placed on this rocky material, so not on the substrate, and that's from preventing from shrinking in the substrate, so that it stays stable on the substrate as well. You can also see a shaft on the left and on the right side, and the shaft is for inspection, that you can see where is the groundwater, and that you can see that everything works correct. There are also sensors, mainly 2 sensors in the planter, one in the higher part of the planter, and one in the lower part of the planter. And there is 2 types of irrigation. On the left side, you can see the irrigation for the root ball, On the right side, you can see the irrigation for the shrubs and for the perennials. So we are able to irrigate the root ball and the perennials as well. And so this is the base of the planter. Here is another picture. Then you can see how we build the rest of the substrates. Like the dark brown is on the upper side is a mulch layer, and below there it's mainly an easy drain substrate with a lot of nutrition in it. At first we had some troubles with the mulch layer because of the wind. The mulch was blowing, not very in the beginning, but when it dried out, the mulch was blowing away. So we came up with two ideas. First, to glue it a bit together. So we delivered a spray that is like a glue, and it will keep the mulch together. It's very easy and very fast to keep it there, but there is an issue there that it will be gone in a couple of months, and the shrubs won't be growing that fast to keep the mulch together, because eventually the shrubs will be that big that the wind is not getting a hold of the mulch. And we also added sprinklers to keep the mulch a bit wet, because if the mulch is wet, it won't blow that easy away. We also did a lot of testing, because in 2018, when Martijn first asked me to join the team, we came up with an idea to have like 2 pots, like you see on the picture, as testing. Those are 2 concrete pots that are similar like the pots that are on the building right now. And we tested everything from nutrition to irrigation, to like the perennials that you see, like the sensors that we had. We tested everything, and we came up with a lot of issues. At first, the trees were stress tested as well, of course, to check if the trees could handle a lot of water, or a little bit of water in this substrate, because it's the combination of substrate and tree, of course. And we saw that the biggest problem was too much water and not too little water. So we had 2 test rounds. The first one, we stress tested it that much that the trees died almost. So the second year we planted 2 new trees and stress tested it a little bit less hard, and we came up with a little change in the substrate to make it even more have more pores than it had before. So, and that made it sure that there was no dried, but also no air pushed out by the water. We tested it nutrition as well, because you want to have a steady amount of nutrition, because there's only 4 cubic meters of substrates per planter. Means that the nutrition will slowly increase, but increase much harder, much faster than it's in the normal natural environment. So we added the fertilization, the liquid fertilization, and we tested it if the pH and EC, electronic conductivity, those first 2, if we could keep it stable. Because if you add water, mainly the pH will go higher. You can see it in the measurement 2, that is with the 2, the mating 2. It's in Dutch. You can see that the pH is just the first line. You can see that it goes higher. And you can also see that the EC, the electronic conductivity, that's the amount of nutrition in the pot, in the planter, is going lower. So we added a little bit of nutrition there, and you can see in measurement 3 and the right side, you can see the pH and EC also already are rising a little bit. So we keep it steady with the nutrition. On the right side, you can see the system that we use in the building. And only thing you don't see in this part is the nutrition tank, but because when the picture was taken, it was not finished yet. The nutrition tank is not there in the picture, but it's there right now. We tested irrigation as well, and irrigation we stress tested it with too much water and too little water, and then we calibrated the substrate on the sensors. Sometimes we had some issues with sensors because it's very open substrate with a lot of pores. That means if you are irrigating and there's just some water stream going past the sensor, then you get a lot of water in the measurement, but it's not in the pot as well. So we are now using like 120 sensors, and not every individual sensor we are checking, but we check the base of all the sensors and on all the sides and all the facades to make sure that the average is normal, because that's the only way you can measure this product and this material by average. Some details of the substrate. You can see on the left the two greens. The first one is the maximum water capacity, and the second one is the air capacity when there is maximum water capacity. So that says a lot about how much air is in the pot, in the plant, or in the substrate when there is a lot of water in it. That's really the substrate you need for these kind of situations with irrigation and with nutrition. Like said, most problems were on the showing on the left side of this image. On this slide, you can see too much water is too little bit of air, and is suffocation. It's the same with the human. If you don't eat enough, if you don't eat at all, then you can last a long time. If you don't drink it all, then it's going a little bit faster, a lot faster. And if you don't have oxygen, or if you don't have air, then you die very quickly. So that's the same with a tree. And you can see here that less water is less problematic than too much water. So that's something that we prevented in the substrate as well. And we can tell you that we had a storm last week, or 1.5 weeks ago, storm Eunice. It had winds of 125 kilometers an hour. And how many trees will fall down? How many trees will have problems, Martijn?
0, nothing.
I knew the answer as well, of course. But this is we are very happy with that, because if you have 125 kilometers an hour winds in a tower with 17 levels, and there's no tree, no damage, nothing, and it's only there for 1.5 years, then we are very happy. It's a combination of a couple of things, of course, why it works, but we're very happy to tell you that. My last two slides before Martijn takes over about the perennials, about the vegetation. We delivered by blowing truck. Most of the substrates was delivered by blowing truck. It looks like this, that someone is in the pot and the substrate will be blown up. And on the right side, you can see a little bit of packaging, a little bit of bags, 20-liter bags, because the substrates in the bottom of the planter were delivered by bags, because in a building like this, the crane that delivers the goods on the facades is a big of an issue. It's not always available for you, because the whole building needs to be built, and not only the trees needs to be there. They are the most important, of course, but not everybody thinks like that. So we first delivered the substrates by bag, and then after that the blowing truck, and it worked great. The last 2 levels were done by big bag, because the blow truck is not able to reach as high as that. Yeah, planting. Martijn made sure that all the trees are in the right spot and safely secured. How did that work for you, Martijn?
Yeah, it was a difficult operation. In total we planted 135 trees, and we used a Bomicon. It's an arm because the balconies above stand out 3 meters. So we use these devices to plant the trees within the facade. And yes, at first it was a little bit difficult because for us it was also the very first time to plant the trees that high up in the building. And if you see on the right, there's a little propeller on it. And that gave us the opportunity to make little adjustments if a tree needed to go 5 meters to the left or 60 centimeters to the right. So it was a very handy material to use. And yeah, that's how we all planted all the trees on the tower. If you go to the vegetation, as indicated, there were a total of 135 trees, 1,600 shrubs, and 6,800 perennials. Different types of trees have been planted on the tower, such as Acer. If you see, we all use the Latin names, and I will say the English names for you. Acer is maple. Amelanchier is the currant tree. Cornus is dogwood. Corylus is hazel. Parotia is ironwood. Prunus and the Pyrus are both ornamental, cherry and ornamental pear. And Sorbus is Rowan. And some trees are planted as a standard tree, you see in the picture. Just like one single stem. But we also planted different multi-stems, so with 2 or 3 different kind of branches coming out. For the choice of the species and the type of tree, we looked at the following aspects. We did a mix of native and exotic species. We also looked at the ornamental value of the trees, but also looking at the changes of climate into account. Things are getting also in Holland warmer. We have more extremes. We looked also in the future, what is going to happen. The resistance to extremes, and Jana also said it. Mostly, the big problem we had was the wind. Tower is 70 meters. It stands besides different types of buildings, and the wind was very changing from high to low. In the choice of tree, we need to be taking that into account. And the trees should not grow too fast, because otherwise we have to prune too much, and the tree must be able to tolerate pruning well. So it's a two-way gap. So that's why we used such as Acer and Amelanchier. Same conditions can also be applied for the other northern of Europe. It can be in native species, should be looked at, and then can be mixed with some of exotic types. Furthermore, the conditions must be carefully considered. I think in other countries also the sun, the wind is also playing the main parts where you need to be looking at. Jano, yes, that's one of the planted pots we have. So you see a multi-stamp of Parotia with the different types of shrubs and perennials, such as Taxus, Luzula, Liriope, Vinca. What you see here is still a lava-based surface, so the upper part, the mulch layer, hasn't put in right here, but then you see good the irrigation system and other things. Yes, maintenance. Maintenance of the Trudo Tower is carried out 4 times a year, and following activities must be carried out, such as pruning trees, both maintenance pruning as guidance pruning. So it's a main difference if you only with the maintenance you do only the small branches or leaves. Guidance is really the big pruning where you can remove some bigger tree. Removing the weeds, but also checking the tree anchorage, both the upper ground and the underground system. Underground you already saw on the pictures with the belts, and above ground you have a small nylon cable that is attached to the tree. If they are falling off the tower, they don't fall. They don't fall down, but they stay at the pot. But also checking the irrigation system on damage or blockage in the system, and checking for diseases and pests. A little bit special at the Trudo Tower, residents use an app which they can arrange everything and ask questions to all kinds of suppliers such as us. This also applies to the planning for the green maintenance. A time slot has been set within the apartments where residents can make an appointment for approximately a period of 3 weeks. And daily we print a list which residents or which address made appointment, and our colleagues go do the maintenance over there. So you see also the 2 pictures. Once a year, the work is also being carried out by rope access, and we will literally upsell along the facade. And our employees had to follow a special training for this, and in according with the guidelines of IRATA. So they are now fully trained and able to work on these circumstances.
Nice to mention is that you have cooperated with other companies in the Netherlands, because this is the first building in the Netherlands.
Yes.
But we also are busy in this. One is built in Antwerp, one is building. They are building right now in Utrecht, Wonderwoods, Amsterdam. So there are going to be a lot of more buildings like this in the Netherlands for the coming years. So you cooperated with some companies to train pruners, because it's easier to train pruners to learn to climb than to learn climbers to prune, because pruning needs to pruning is not that easy to learn. Well, this is the left side is the image, and it's an artist impression. On the right side is the actual building. I think 2 days after it was the trees were planted. So the design and the result in 2021. So it's there. It came through its first storm. So very happy with that. Martijn, we also have some questions in the questions. I'm going to. How deep is the planter for which size of trees? Well, the planter is
1 meter 10.
Yeah.
In total. So we have the 10 centimeters of solid lava, also Jana said, and then we have a meter of substrate. In total of 1 meter 10.
Yeah, and the trees are, how big are the trees?
in total, difference between 4 and 6 meters.
And the same question, not same question, but from the same person. What is the advantage of air pot?
Yeah, it's for us. It was possible to plant the trees all year. So what I said was, it's for us no problem to plant them in spring or the summer or in the fall. Yeah, in Holland we have only the period if you have a normal root ball in the normal standard size. Our planting season is between November and March, April. So yeah, it's a small window, and of 4 or 5 months we have to plant all the trees. But yeah, the Trudo Tower was finished in September of 2020. The last trees were planted in June, July. So we needed to have the opportunity to plant all year, also in the summer. So for us, airport was the solution.
Yeah, building a tower there is no schedule. Yes, of course there is a schedule,
Yeah, schedule for the building
but it changes
contractor.
every day, changes
Yeah,
every week. So you need to be very flexible at first, and then of course the substrates in the planter, and we wanted to have the same similar substrate in the planter as in the airpot. So that doesn't mean there's a rocky substrate in the airpot, but the nutrition, the pH value is almost the same as in the building. So there is not a big of change for the trees to go from the nursery to the building, just to the amount of error not to be that big. And eventually, I don't even know, is there is one tree died?
no, no,
Not one. There's one
not
very
one.
bad.
Yes, but that was a difficulty of the building contractor. So
Yeah,
it's not.
irrigation system. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So there's
it was not our fault, but yeah, one tree is
maybe not going to make it. So it's not bad that, and it's not even, it was irrigation system problems. So it's nothing that we could do anything about. But so if but even if we could do everything about it, if you have one tree that's very bad in quality in this situation, that's perfect. How big can the trees grow, Martijn?
up till between 7 and 9 meters in total. So three levels.
Yeah, and they are pruned to keep that
Yes,
size.
so they are pruned 3 to 4 times a year. So mostly now is maintenance pruning, and when they reach the final height, they can grow. We go over to how you say it,
Guidance
to
pruning.
guidance pruning. Yes.
Is there drainage for extra water from the planters? Yes. If there's too much water in the planters, it will first build up the first 10 centimeters on the bottom of the planter, and after 10 centimeters, it will drain out of the planter. So it's unable to get too much water in the planter.
Yes.
That's very important, because
Yes.
the issues we saw and the stress testing was with too much water and not with too little water. Yeah, of course, with too little water gave some issues as well, but not that fast and that big as too much water. How do you replace the trees if they die?
We cut them off and we plant little trees that we can put in an elevator. We put it up and then we plant a little tree back. So we also talked about it with Boeri, the architect, and if you look at Bosco Verticale in Milan, in 7 or 8 years, a total of I thought 2 or 3 trees have died. So yeah, it's really less than 1% a year. So it's not that big of a deal. So
We have another question, Martijn, for you as well. How much maintenance cost? How much do you charge them?
yeah, I don't know precisely. We have a contract with Trudo. That's the building, but I don't know precisely what they charge the residents to.
How much do you normally prune a tree if it's in
Yeah,
a building or
once
next?
once per 3 years. So yeah, you have a very high maintenance if you compare it with a normal standard uh, maintenance on the floor on the ground.
Yeah. What we can see here, if you compare cost of vegetation to buildings, what was the ratio about? Well, that's I understand this question as well, and also the question about pruning.
Yeah,
I want to give a
yeah. I know the building was around $70 million of 70 million euros, and our percentage of if you look at the total of vegetation with the irrigation system, also in the shaft, in the main shaft, it was approximately around 1 million. So if you compare it, around 5-6% of the total building.
And if you look at how much ecosystem services this tree or this building delivers in the surroundings, and if you can see how much the surroundings, the buildings are worth because of this building being there, and the feeling that you get in this area, because it's an old industrial area from Philips factories. So left on right side there are two big buildings are old Philips factories. They were building their lamps or other things that Philips sold from the Netherlands, and now it's a developing area. It's not that far from the city center, so it's pretty high cost ground. And if you can see how much the environment is worth now because of this building being there, and how much extra tax, for example, you need to pay if you want to buy a building and keep living there, the tower will eventually not cost money but bring money. And in most of the cases, extra green means extra money for everybody, because the green is making everything, everybody make more money. Questions. If you live in this house, can you take care about the plants yourself, or plant something in their room?
No, it's
Of plant, sorry, if you can plant extra and if you can take care of the trees.
no, it's forbidden for the residents to plant extra trees or shrubs or perennials. They'll also sign a contract. So yeah, they can relax, lay back, and enjoy the green, and all the maintenance of the trees and the perennials and shrubs will be done by us.
Yeah. I have one last question for this moment, and then I think we need to also end the webinar as well. If you have another question, just ask it right now, and then otherwise we're going to end it after this question. You can also contact us after the webinar if you want. My contact information is on the website of BVB Landscaping in the Netherlands. Martijn's contact information is via Dupré, the company that Martijn works for. So I think I don't speak for you. I cannot speak for you, but is it okay that people are contacting you?
Yeah, sure, that's no problem.
Yeah, if it's not every day 10 times, then it's no problem. Okay, the last question for now is how do you prevent the container from becoming root bound? Well, root bound is something that is happening in pots for perennials or how do you say it? Small plants. It's not something that happens for trees in this situation that fast. Because the amount of root ball is about, the amount of roots is about the same size as the amount of canopy, and the canopy won't grow that hard or that big. So that means that the roots won't grow that hard or that big. So the balance needs to be there. And if you look at the planter pot from a small plant, then you can see there's a lot of green, a lot of canopy, and a little pot, very little pot. So that's why you get the circling of the roots there, because there needs to be balance, and it's very unbalanced, of course, the situation that we created. And we keep the situation in the Trudo Tower about balanced. So the amount of growing space there is below the surface in the pot is almost the same as the canopy. So that's why there is no root bound there, or not going to happen. That's what we've seen is in Bosco Verticale, built like about 10-12 years ago. No root bound as well. So no issue there for us. That's it. That's everything that was asked.
Oh no, that's still one question.
Yeah, I see. Do you believe this could happen also in the cold climate such as Finland? I don't see why not.
No, I think
There's
it's
really no issue.
no, it's possible if you taken into account the native kind of trees, shrubs, and perennials that are all possible to grow over there. And you take it into account, I think mostly is also the cold weather, but also windy. So yeah, you need to take into account which kind of trees, shrubs, and perennials are resistant enough to grow in that kind of environment.
Yeah, I think that heat is a bigger problem than cold, because of the evaporation of the trees, and the wind is also a bigger problem. So building next to the sea or next to a very windy area is more of an issue than building in like inland or those
Yeah,
kind of
rural
things.
area.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here with us. It was
Thank you.
very nice to have you. And Martijn, thank you for attending this.
No problem. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. Like if you have any other questions, just contact us. We'll happy to answer them. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.
Bye bye.